It's time for the edgy cringe. We're back.
Hi. Alright, so like Elizabeth said,
Same day recording, classy.
we are, of course, why we do it on different days. Alright, part 2. We're gonna get to the message of this show. And oh boy, is the message the biggest problem
boy.
of this show.
Mm.
And not that many people who I've seen criticized talk about all of this stuff. But the one that everyone talks about is the first one. Jutsu. Hypocrisy of Jutsu. Alright, we won't go too much into it because you can literally find a dozen people talking about this on YouTube. But it would be unfair not to, at least mention it. So,
Hypocrisy of Naruto, more
the
like.
hypocrisy of Jutsu is basically that the show's premise is initially that hard work and determination will earn you what you want in life. That you don't have to necessarily be born gifted or born great, and you can change your destiny. As postulated in the fight between Neji and Naruto during the first Chunin exam arc. That is a great message in some ways, but it doesn't actually hold up. Naruto, as people discussed, is not an ordinary person. He had two very powerful parents, he was trained by powerful people, and he has a fox demon stuck inside him that gives him power.
Which is the only reason why he wins, all of his fights.
But the bigger problem with this, spoiler alert, is that the whole you can change your destiny thing is really not true. Neji wants to change his destiny so that he doesn't have to live and die for the head family. But he literally goes from hating the head family to living to protect Hinata, who's from the head family, to eventually dying for her and Naruto.
Whoopee. I guess if you accept your fate, it's not like you're doing it against your will.
I mean, I guess if you chose it.
Ugh. That idea is so stupid.
If destiny truly is destiny, can you choose anything else? And apparently Sasuke and Naruto come from two lines of people who are destined to fight each other and have always, in the end, tried to kill each other and split. With one choosing the path of love and the other choosing the path of power and isolation. At the end of the show, we're supposed to believe that they've made a different choice, but Sasuke goes off by himself and never really comes back in any significant way from what I understand, and Naruto stays and does what every other of his predecessors did. Work on building the village, probably to ultimately fail yet again after he's died.
He doesn't actually understand love.
Because what the village does not understand is that you can't just have a good leader, the people themselves have to understand what you're going for and want to do it. But Jutsu itself is also really, really trippy.
It's broken.
Because either it's inherited or it's stolen, and it supposedly can be bad inherently, if it's a curse mark or something, but then it's okay to use it as long as you're doing it to protect your friends. What?
And some of them, you just need to steal a body part or an organ or something and you can use their jutsu. I wonder if there's a smelling jutsu where if you snatch someone's nose, you can use their jutsu. That would be gross.
Got it.
Oh no, she has the smelling jutsu, now she's going to destroy the world. That's basically a plot of a Naruto episode.
I now have your power of memes.
Okay, that's...
But in all seriousness,
What?
What the heck, show? I mean, everyone can steal everyone's power all the time, and that's literally the only reason ninjas ever do anything, to steal power.
To be fair, saying a nose has the power of memes makes about as much sense as the powers the Sharingan has, and we're not even getting into that in this
well,
right
it was
now.
a pet peeve that the powers of Sharingan ceased to make any sense at all after
Basically,
season
they could do anything
5.
the writers need them to. It's just so stupid.
Whatever you need it to do is what Sharingan is.
We're not going to talk about that
That's
because
what
that would
jutsu-
take way too long.
jutsu is,
But all jutsu is basically broken.
It's fairly common, again, for anime power sets to be like this, but this it was the absolute worst. Because it's some jutsu is fueled by emotions, other jutsu is fueled by not having emotions. At least Fairy Tail was consistent about emotions fueling magic, but this show is no, it's this, no, it's hatred, no, it's love, no, it's hatred, no, it's love, no, it's apathy, no, it's not. And it wouldn't even say consistent for the same character, let alone the same tribe of characters.
Yeah, they just didn't want to tell Sasuke he was wrong, so they wouldn't.
Yeah, I guess.
Until the end of the show, anyway.
Alright, and on the note of the inconsistencies of the powers, the inconsistencies of the characters. I mean, they're consistently bad, but
yeah.
as far as well-written goes, the character arcs on this show, most of them don't make any sense at all. Alright, we're going to talk about Itachi because I find that one of the most concerning. And Orochimaru, but he doesn't have an arc, he's just ignored. But let's look at Itachi. Everyone loves Itachi, right? Even Sasuke loves Itachi, but Sasuke doesn't love anyone. So,
yeah.
Itachi, the great hero Leaf, the person single-handedly responsible for inspiring Sasuke to...
The guy who stopped a bloody revolution by murdering each and every one of their women, children,
You know who was really justified in the end by the system? Not Itachi,
No.
just to be clear, not Itachi. Alright, let's review. Itachi's introduced to us back in the OG Naruto show as the worst possible person you could ever think.
Like, I mean, if you think your brother is bad, did he murder all your parents?
You got icky feelings watching him. He was totally creepy. He was psychotic. He was power mad. We were given this very...
It really seemed like he had, like, a disorder. Like, what's that one disorder?
He was a psycho.
It sounded like he was a sociopath.
Turned psychopath.
Yes.
And he told Sasuke, I'm doing all this because I want to, like, be the best and I want to prove I'm the best. But I'll let you live so maybe you can come challenge me when you have eyes like mine, which you only get if you kill the person closest to you in the world.
Which definitely makes it seem like he's a sociopath in some ways.
Stellar advice, Itachi.
Yeah, thanks, Itachi, for your murder rampage.
Then, when Itachi tries to abduct Naruto, may I remind you, the main character of this show, in order to suck a fox spirit out of him so that he will die, and they will take over the world. Yay, and Sasuke tries to stop him. Itachi not only taunts Sasuke, telling him that he needs to hate more, but he proceeds to traumatize him for the second time using his hypnotic eyes to make him relive the death of his parents, which was what set him on this path, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for 24 hours. And if this did not make him the brother of the freaking year in your book yet, to make matters worse, he's still trying to destroy Leaf Village, and he later tries to kill Sasuke, supposedly, continuing to use mind games and saying he will take Sasuke's eyes. Then he eventually dies.
Now you may say something like this.
Supposedly.
But he didn't actually want to kill him the entire time. He was traumatizing him so he would become stronger and fight him because he didn't know that love would make him stronger and not hate, because the only thing he ever knew was hate. And so he actually was good brother. You are an idiot!
Apparently... Calm down. Apparently, Itachi was completely misunderstood the entire time, and it was really Leaf's fault for backing him into a corner. Turns out, Leaf, the Uchiha clan, Itachi and Sasuke's family, were planning a little bit of an uprising against the higher-ups of Leaf in order to, I guess, take over.
They were plotting a coup.
Super clear what they wanted to do after that, but it was bad. It was bad because they were Uchihas, and they're too powerful, and they can't be trusted.
The nerve.
Although,
I am disgusted.
by all evidence, that's completely true. So,
yeah, honestly, they were doing
I
that.
mean, they were being left alone.
No, they should have all been murdered, but still.
Alright. But, so Leaf was like, okay, Dashi, here's the dealio. You basically gotta kill your entire family, including women, children, and old people, because if you leave anyone alive, they'll try to get revenge on us, but we'll give you a loophole. You can leave Sasuke alive because he's somehow too young to do anything, even though there are younger children than him in the clan who wouldn't remember a thing, and you could probably just lie to about what happened. And we'll let you keep him alive.
We'll throw you a bone.
We'll throw you a bone.
In the form of someone who would obviously try to get back at us
Definitely
later.
have to kill your parents, the old people, and all the children, even if they're babies.
Oh yeah, and you can never tell the truth about what we said because obvious reasons. And yeah, we're also going to leave you alive so that you can...
So, peace out and have fun committing mass genocide. Natashi was the go-between between Leaf and the Uchihas, and instead of working something out or saying, up yours, I'm not going to kill my entire clan because you told me to, I'd rather die. He's like, you know what? That sounds fair. I'll do it.
Granted, if they just stuck with the explanation he was a selfish sociopath, it might have made sense, but they didn't.
I don't like to throw this accusation out there, but that is exactly the kind of logic that regimes have used. The Communist Revolution, the Nazis in Germany, the genocide in Rwanda, like everywhere, like there's a genocide, that's the logic people use. I guess as long as it's for the greater good, it's okay to kill people who didn't do anything, including children. I think. Sorry. And this is, instead of being pointed out as the terrible, terrible atrocity that it is, it's seen as justifiable because Itachi chose to protect Leaf. I mean, the show kind of implies it's not a good thing, but in the end Itachi is hailed as a hero for making the choice that he did, and Sasuke resolves to be like him, and Itachi is called a kind person. I am quoting the show. Yeah, that was so kind of him.
And we haven't even gotten into how Ormachu's life.
I know that this, the risk of sounding really, really condescending, if somebody tells you to kill an entire clan of people because they might rebel against the system, and you agree to do it, that makes you a bad guy. Just being clear.
No offense, but yeah.
Get out of my way, you plebs. Serfs.
What?
Alright. So, yeah, Itachi's redemption isn't even a redemption. It actually makes him look worse because even though he knew all this was apparently a sham, he still traumatized Sasuke on purpose. That's not love, people. That's abuse. Psychological abuse. And instead of being mad about this, Sasuke accepts it as something Itachi had to do for him. But why? What good did it do Sasuke in the end except make it way, way, way harder for him to decide to do the right thing? That's all it did. Oh boy, and that actually leads perfectly into our next point. Naruto, as a show, portrays an abusive cycle, several actually, as love. And it does this unapologetically and unironically. That's the scary part. We just discussed how what Itachi did to Sasuke was definitely abusive, but Sasuke's relationship with Naruto and Sakura, as many people have noted, is completely abusive, albeit Sasuke is rather unintentionally abusive since, as far as he is concerned, they should just cut and run like he did.
But he did try to murder both of them several times, so that's also a thing.
I just want to point out that the person he eventually married, he tried to kill twice.
Are we okay with this?
Yes, I guess.
Well,
so
seeing the
romantic.
Sakura and Sasuke shippers, looks like it's fine.
Mm-mm.
No
Ladies,
offense,
no.
guys, but please don't.
Please don't.
Could you
Ladies,
not?
Please don't.
Please.
It's really our Oliver Twist, basically. If you've ever seen that movie, read that book, where Nancy refuses to leave Sykes even though he beats her, and in the end murders her in a blind rage, but she says she loves him and she can't leave him. And it's pretty sad. You will cry.
Get so wrapped up with people.
But to get a little bit more detail into the abusive cycle, there's a reason that it's not as noble as the show thinks it is. The show basically says that Naruto not giving up on Sasuke is true friendship, because all the people before him eventually gave up on their friends and on the idea of living in peace and said, okay, we just have to try to kill each other. However, every time that was because the friends wanted to destroy an entire village's worth of people or else control them through a regime. Or occasionally through a really creepy jutsu that puts everyone into a trance for all eternity. Yeah, I think at that point you need to cut your losses. You know what I mean? But instead the show's but that's giving up on friendship, and then love doesn't win, and then everyone is always revenging each other. It's not actually protecting people, it's just an endless cycle of vengeance. Maybe that's a decent point to make, But if the person is still intent on killing you and everyone close to you, even the innocent people, what are you supposed to do? You're just gonna let them do that because not letting them do that would be not being a true friend? What kind of logic is that?
Granted, they still end up fighting them because it seems like they have this mindset where they're like, well, I can't kill you without also dying because I would be too sad if I killed you and lived to see it or whatever. But I can't leave you to hurt all of these innocent people, so I'm just going to dang myself to whatever place there is that I will go when I die, and I'll drag you down with me so that you can no longer hurt peoples, but I will also not have to feel guilty because I'll be dead.
And that is literally the speech Naruto makes to Sasuke when they encounter her by the bridge. She's not making that up.
I'm paraphrasing, but still, that's just super stupid and unhealthy and ugh.
And unfortunately, it gets worse than that, though. Sakura's entire relationship with Sasuke is abusive from the beginning, and it's abusive to the end. He, even if you could say he even liked her back, he constantly neglects her, insults her, and doesn't do anything she wants him to do. He's completely distant, dismissive, and she keeps coming back to him because it seems like she's comfortable with that.
This show demonizes cutting ties with unhealthy people to such an extent where it makes it seem like a psychopathic murderer who you were friends with, and then you found out about, their psychopath stuff, that you would still have to be friends with them no matter what they did and just try to continually convince them to stop.
Because basically the worst possible thing you can do is cast aside someone you were once a friend with, even if that person is ceased to even be human anymore after a certain point.
Cease to be the person you thought they were. Friendships and relationships have ended over smaller things that are still just as effective, but to fewer people. And yet this show refuses to acknowledge that that is not only a thing that happens, but a lot of the time a necessary thing.
It's really gets disturbing, actually, how Naruto will not let go of his obsession with Sasuke and with bringing Sasuke back, even after Sasuke tells him over and over again, I'm not going to change, and I'm going to destroy everything you care about. So either stop me, or don't stop me. And Naruto's like, well, I will stop you without doing it the way you want me to. But he loses to Sasuke every single time. Sasuke constantly uses powers that are basically cheating, and Sasuke has backup from people who are willing to use powers that are cheating, who outmaneuver Leaf at every turn. It would be far wiser to just take care of him when you had the chance. Now, as cold-blooded as that sounds, what's the long-term consequences of not doing it? In the end, Sasuke really does almost wipe out everyone.
He's a terrorist. He joined a terrorist organization and very clearly stated that he intended to destroy an entire village.
Sasuke ends the last part of the show holding, no joke, the entire world hostage until he gets what he wants. The arrogance and blindness of Sasuke as a character really surpasses human expectation.
And, you get the idea that it is partially out of desperation to convince Naruto that he is someone who he is going to have to let go of, because Sasuke just does not want him to keep on holding on to this.
Sever those bonds,
I mean, it's very selfish of him, but in a way you almost agree with this one thing about him, that he really should stop being friends with Naruto.
Because at no point will Naruto ever say to Sasuke, you're a villain and what you're doing is wrong and I'm going to stop you.
Not because...
Never. He never, ever, ever said it.
He says he stops him because he's his friend and he doesn't want him to get hurt or hurt other people, but he never says that he's going to stop him because what he's doing is objectively terrible. No matter who he still is going to go down.
In the end, Sasuke gets forgiven by Naruto and Sakura as if nothing ever happened, and goes right back to being in an abusive, neglectful cycle with Sakura, who eventually marries, apparently. And he gets nothing. They never call him out on it, ever.
Should have thanked her lucky stars that she got out of that one.
I think she did. We can hope.
We can hope.
Thank you, But yeah, and thank you, Sai. Oh, Sai! Oh my gosh, Sai. Talk about a character who gets mistreated for no reason.
Yeah, we'll briefly mention that because we'll talk about him more in the positives, but the way he's treated is negative.
But he points out Sasuke's behavior.
He's one of the only ones who does it in Shikamaru.
Blown off every single time, and usually punched. Just like the audience.
the way they treat him is ridiculous on the show. Honestly, the way they treat a couple other characters, like Lee, gets made fun of a lot just for being an underpowered and dedicated character, which is what Naruto was supposed to be. And like Sai is being treated very, very like poorly.
Yeah, just about everyone on the show is a jerk.
Honestly, the way Sai acts, you might think he had some sort of mental like problem or handicap, and the way they treat him is honestly just so insensitive. It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
And before we finish, as I said, they forgive Sasuke so easily, and there's this weird idea that forgiveness means that everything is the same as before. Like, forgiveness means you go back to initially what things were like. Other than Sasuke's just not in the village. But, I mean, as far as emotionally investment was concerned, he was never in the village to begin with. So, it's like, nothing has to be different. Like, you don't have to act any differently. You don't have to change at all. You're absolved of all responsibility because I said so. And my word is law because I guess I'm the main character.
You know, in the final battle where they had Sasuke's redemption take place, it was very separated from the rest of his character. It was well written if you isolated it from everything else, which was surprising, but it was not him.
Yeah.
His regret was not there before. And the way they handled it, like acting like nothing happened, was just honestly, personally disturbing.
To bring it back to the idea of destiny, too, it was kind of weird that what was never addressed was that Naruto never actually gave Sasuke a choice about what he wanted to do. Naruto was always determined to bring Sasuke back, whether Sasuke wanted him to or not. In the end, Sasuke gives into it, he admits, simply because he just can't outlast Naruto anymore on this. But it's kind of disturbing if you care about Sasuke at all. I guess I do.
That's the one thing that I find relatable and human
it's
about
the one
him,
thing I feel bad for Sasuke about, that he doesn't actually get a choice about what he wants to do with his life. He has to fit to the mold that Naruto says, otherwise the cycle never ends. They'll always just be
He
fighting.
always keeps on choosing to go to someone else, some sort of other group, to help him make his decisions and help him carry out his plans. But, I mean, I feel like that's just because he's always been treated that way for a lot of, like, his life. And the fact that Naruto just keeps on telling him, you're going to do this, this is going to happen again, and he finally gives up, is honestly depressing.
In the end, it's like, can you blame Sasuke for not wanting to hang around Leaf when nobody there will treat him with any honesty about who he is or what he wants?
I guess he figured this was the one way he could get what he wanted, is to say that he was going to change, but that he had to do it alone. And he was right, which is kind of sad.
You want to be alone, Jack? Then be alone.
Is that our last point?
Pretty much. Yeah, in summary, there's so much more detail to get into about why it was abusive, but and why forgiveness needs to like be handled in a more mature way. And we're definitely in favor of forgiveness and mercy. We weren't against Sasuke getting redeemed. We were against it making it seem like all the terrible things that happened, both to him and to everyone else, don't matter if you could explain they had a different motivation. And also why Sasuke's motivation was treated as valid, because it was crazy. It was arrogant, like we said. It was demanding everyone do what he wants, or basically the world ends here and now. And that is villain behavior in my book and in pretty much any other show you watch, but somehow here it's treated like a tragic hero thing. Like many of the villains.
I guess brief mention of Orochimaru, you can pretty much see how he's abusive in every possible way. So I don't think we really need to go into that. He's clearly evil. The one thing that really bothered us was that they changed his character so completely, but...
No, they didn't really, actually. They don't really change his character. He's just allowed to walk around free in the village.
They don't change his alignment, but they change his attitude.
I remind you, the man who experimented on children, turned people into monsters, and tortured them, and made them fight to the death, is allowed to roam around Reef Village freely, where he could literally do that to anyone without anyone knowing about it.
Or do some necromancy. Yay.
Yeah.
But basically everyone already knows about that and how stupid it is. So we're going into the inadequacies of the Leaf.
Alright. That will clearly this ran a little bit longer than we intended, but there's a lot of problems with this.
25 minutes.
We do have one more part in which we will talk about the handful of things we liked about this show that we actually thought were done fairly well, although ultimately did not make it into changing the overall plot.
These things will probably not be perfect.
If you're a Gara fan like we are, you will probably enjoy that part. Thanks if you watched this whole thing. And hey, if you have anything to add to what we said, go ahead and leave a comment below. Subscribe if you want to see more things like this, or if you're interested in sign language. And peace out.
Sorry, our pacing is about as bad as Naruto's in this